Okay, I guess I'll have to start off. As you know, my name is Andrew Balongo Pere, and I am a graphic designer, photographer, videographer, editor. But I have a passion for books also, and just personal development. And that's in fact one of the reasons I participated in this project. It was actually inspired by Anissa Njeri herself. Hello, Anissa, how are you? So I'm actually also part of another book club, and they do this same format where actually their format is a little bit different. So their format is um, they have someone who they call a pace setter who reads the books and gives small snippets on the WhatsApp group to keep people on pace to finish on time. And then we have someone that is a presenter who volunteers to present the whole book. So that's how they do it. But in this particular format for us, because I notice all of us are intelligent here. The way I see guys chatting in the chat box, in the chat room is so awesome. It blows my mind. And that's what I wanted to attempt to bring here. You know, how are you all responding to the material from the book? I can't assume what I'm getting is what you are getting. And it was very evident with the stuff that people were sharing in the book. So the format will be, we'll just start to give a summary of the stories from the book without saying what we learned or anything, just how the story is from point A to point B. There's some people here that were not able to finish the book, so giving a summary will help them get up to speed with what happened. And so then that'll be part one. Part two now will be to discuss the writing style or the whatever kind of themes, or rather, yeah, the styles and techniques, how the book was written. A lot of people made comments about the tone of the book, and that's what we're going to address here. And maybe we can give our thoughts because some of us write on Anissa's blog. So maybe this could be even an inspiration for how we can write in a way that can appeal to those who are reading. And then lastly, will be now the themes discussed in the book and what we got from them. And this being a book exploring masculinity, I know for a lot of men, okay, I wouldn't say a lot of men, but, Gabu was one of the men who was saying that, this is common sense for me. But a lot of women were like, wow, this is what guys go through, this is what's going on. So I know that it was very eye-opening. And this book is important for women because you have men in your lives as a father, as a brother, as a son, as a nephew. So you'll begin to understand, even if you've had a boyfriend or a husband. So you may start to understand how you may have an impact on him. And even the fact that right now you're working in a world of men. I'm sure this book has opened certain insights for you. And yeah, I would love to hear all those. So that's a small snippet about me. Anissa, say something. Okay, there you are.
Hey, sorry. Well, so on the spot. I mean,
Don't worry, everyone
like,
is going to
as far
speak.
as I'm concerned, huh?
Everyone is going to speak.
No
So
one can hear me.
yeah, we can hear
You can't
you.
hear me.
I can. You're loud
Can
and
you give
clear.
me like 5 minutes when I come on?
Okay, sure.
5 minutes.
So while Anissa
Sure.
is taking her 5 minutes to prepare, who would like to go next? And if someone doesn't say next, I'll just volunteer because time is clicking. So within 3 seconds, I'll just go down my list. Okay, so I'll give the privilege to Marion. Just briefly introduce yourself and just say your experience of the book club, why in the book club, what you hope to experience from it, and what you do. Maybe you never know, someone here might be needing your services. And while you're speaking, please turn on your video so we can see you and acknowledge you.
Andrew, can I turn on the video later? I'm literally on the road.
Okay,
I
sure,
told
sure.
you I have shenanigans on Sundays, and
Okay.
yeah. Okay, let me turn it on for like a few minutes because I'm in traffic.
Okay.
Can you see me?
Yes, nice to see you, Marian.
Yeah, I colored my hair
Wow.
yesterday.
Wow. Looking awesome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So yeah, because I don't want to bump on the other cars.
Sure, sure.
So WhatsApp name is Belle with a lot
Mm-hmm.
of colors.
Ah.
If you have my name saved, you don't know what you're missing. I like book club because it makes me accountable to reading the book. I don't know why I don't finish the books that I start. Like always, I start and then I'm like, this is boring. I skim through it to the end, I get the storyline, and then I dump it. So at least the two books that we have done,
Mhm.
I've actually read them. This one I read yesterday, literally, yours truly. Freedom. Yes. So that's it. I work in a pharmacy.
Yes. Ah, so if we need helps with
What else?
pharmaceuticals, you're our person.
Not really. I'm like a back office. So guys keep asking me, refer me to a doctor. I don't know doctors. I only know Jubil and Winnie. So guys, and any hospital, I don't know doctors. But if there's something I am able to, I would. But I am literally at the back office. I hardly talk to doctors and stuff like that.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
Yeah, but if mostly, yeah, that's it. The reason I'm in book club is because I like to read more and open my brain so that I'm open to new experiences, and I like the conversations in the other book club that Anissa also started,
Yes.
the book club, so that people are able to exchange ideas, arguments respectfully, like we had something in the morning.
Hmm.
So that's why I'm here, and I like the chance that I'm accountable. So if I actually have to finish the book, because in the beginning of the month, I actually skimmed through. I had an idea of what it's like, but I didn't go to the meet until yesterday night, literally. Yeah, that's it
Yes.
about me.
All right.
Questions?
Thank you very much for sharing, Marian. That's awesome. All right. Who would like to share next? I'd like to welcome Samia Ali, Ransi Chepchirchir, and Boniface Lochoto himself. Welcome. Yes, so what we're doing now is while we're waiting for people to come on, we're just introducing ourselves and just saying why we're in the book club and what are our expectations. I shared my main expectation for creating this book club was apart from just saying that I've read, 3,000 books this year. What are those takeaways from the books that I've been getting? A lot of the time, people have not been able to articulate what they've been learning. And I found out that even though we all read the same book, what I get from the book is different from what you get from the book, what he gets, what she gets. And as we share all this together, we'll be able to expand our experience of learning that we got from the book. So that's one of my main aims. And I just apart from sharing ideas in the chat, which is wonderful, this is hopefully an extension of the what goes on in the chat in terms of sharing ideas. So it's nothing about right or wrong, but seeing a different perspective from someone else's eyes. So who would like to introduce themselves next? So there's a 3-second rule. If no one volunteers in 3 seconds, I'll just go down my list and pick the next person. So 3, 2, 1. Our next person on my list, Gilbert. Welcome, Gilbert. And I hear that you are a relative of Obama. So I am very honored to welcome the president, connected to the president somehow's namesake. Go ahead. And while you're speaking, yes, turn on your video so we can see you and acknowledge you.
Yeah, you can see me.
Yes,
Well,
we can.
I'm Gilbert. I'm a banker by profession. This is the first book club I think I've been to or I'm into. and I hope you learn a lot and hear the insights into the reading culture and just to learn. Yeah, I just joined yesterday, so I'm looking forward to listening and just being part of this conversation.
And what's your
Yes.
expectation of the experience?
I expect to learn a lot, to really just like you were saying that it's not just about reading, but really what we can take away from the book or take away from whatever it is that we are reading, what we can even apply to our own lives. So I look forward to learning and applying the same in my life.
All right, I'm grateful
Yes.
for your sharing. Thank you for that, Gilbert. Okay, who's next? Okay, Ramsey, I think you had joined us next on the chat, so I'll just go in order. Ramsey, please unmute yourself and let's see you and just introduce yourself for a minute. Ramsey, can you hear me? And Boniface, I see that your audio is not connected. Can you hear me? If you're not connected, double check that your audio is connected to the computer, to your mobile, if you're connecting through your phone. Rancy, are you there?
Hi.
Yes.
Hi.
Welcome.
Sorry. Yeah, I was muted the whole time. I'm Rancy. Oh, this is
And
the
please,
first
when you're
time.
speaking, let's turn on your video so we can get to acknowledge you and appreciate you.
Okay. Yeah, just a second.
Sure.
I hope you can see me now.
Sure.
Clearly.
Yes, Rancy.
Yeah. So I'm here book club because I just want to hear your insights. I haven't even read today's book, but I just wanted to hear and learn from you guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was your motivation to be part of us?
I mean, I like to read and a bit of writing and just to just share ideas. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I thank you for joining us. It is an honor and a privilege. Thank you. You could be anywhere
Thank
else
you.
this Sunday evening, but you're with us. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Boniface and Samia, you guys joined in at the same time. So Boniface, I'll let you go ahead first and then Samia. Hello, Boniface Lochoto.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Finally, I get to see you in the flesh.
The very reason as to why I'm putting on the light of the car, because I have my melanine could be maybe because of the lighting I needed to be seen properly. My name is Boniface Lochoto. Hello, you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, Boniface Lochoto.
Yes, calling from Lodwar. I am quite, I am interested in learning more about the book. I haven't finished. I just joined the club that was like 2 days ago, and I'm trying to learn more from the entire team on how I can benefit from it. I'm looking forward to join the rest of you in terms of learning one or two items in my interest of book reading. So I am quite looking forward to gain from the group.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing and thank you for tuning in all the way from Lodwar. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and
I am hoping I'm still listening. I'm hoping I'll get a nice place to park so that I can have a good time with the entire team of book reading. I'm looking so forward. But I am listening as I am. But there will be a network problem, but I'm in the next maybe 5 kilometers from where I will get a stable network.
All right, I understand. Yes, please turn off your video now. We do not want to be the cause of the mishap on your life. So yes, just
That's
keep
okay.
tuning in,
That's okay,
listening,
brother.
and
That's fine.
we'll
Thank
do
you.
our best to
Thank
be
you.
descriptive. Thank you.
Tafadhali. Bye-bye.
All right, Samia Ali. Welcome, Samia.
Hi. Sorry, just give me a second.
Sure.
Okay. Hi.
Hello, how are you,
So
Samia?
I'm fine. Yes. So I'm Samia, and okay. What are the other questions? What am I supposed to say about myself?
You can say
Sorry.
you can say what you do and what inspired you to participate in the book club, and what are your expectations?
Okay. So So I'm Samia. I recently graduated med school, so abroad.
Congratulations.
So yeah. So I'm waiting for internship. I'm waiting for the government to post me somewhere.
Hmm.
I don't know when that will be. I joined book club because I wanted to. I like the idea of collective reading, and yeah, and I like the idea of reading books with other people. But I guess I've never found people who wanted to read the same book that I was reading at the same time. Yeah, so I like the idea of collective reading, but I don't like the idea of this month's book. I think I've said I've said as much a couple of times. What I want to get out of this, I guess I want to learn and I want to broaden my horizons.
Yes.
Yeah, basically that's it. But this month I swear I've tried to read that book. I have tried so hard. But I think I'm dumb. I think I'm not smart enough for this book.
No, it's
So
not a matter of not
I
being
think
smart. I think that was a general reflection of the general population. But the book was a little bit tough to get into at the beginning. It's like you really
I
had
actually
to.
reached almost halfway and I was like, hey, guys, I'm just going to listen and just let people explain to me what they got from the book. Because today I was even trying to explain it to someone and they were not understanding me. So I don't know.
I get you, and
Yes.
thank you for sharing that. You know, that's part of the learning experience to expand your mind. You know, and through the discussion, hopefully it'll help you gain something out of this, and that's my intention. Hopefully, by the end of
Yes.
this session, all of you let me know if I've achieved my objective. That all of you will have learned something about not just from the book, but about yourselves and how you navigate your worlds.
Yeah. So I guess in a way you could say this book is my Fisher King wound because
Wonderful,
yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah. So okay, thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, and our next person on the list, Anissa Njeri. Yes, Anissa, are you ready? We are waiting for you. And after you introduce yourself, we can start on the book. Yes, Anissa? Yes, welcome Frida. Welcome Jerry. Welcome Maiva. What we're doing is we're just introducing ourselves just before we start into the book. We're just mainly saying what we do, why we joined the book club, and what we expect from this experience. So, Frida, please unmute yourself and let's see you. And you have 1 minute. Oh, Frida, connect to your audio. I can see your audio is not connected. If you're on your laptop, go to the bottom left of your screen and make sure you connect to your audio. Marion, also, I see you're not connected to your audio. Can you hear me? While you're sorting out that audio, Mev Adema. Yes, please just introduce yourself for a minute and just tell me why you joined the book club and what you expect from the experience. Mev, are you there? Can you hear me? All right, I guess while people are sorting out their audio, I might as well just go ahead and start with the summary of the book. Now, all right, I was just writing a little bit of notes here, which I can go ahead and just share. Can you guys see my screen? You can use the chat to say if you can see it or not. Okay. Now this book is a little bit unique, like you all said. It is a little bit difficult to read because it is a book that involves Jungian psychology. And Jungian psychology is a branch of psychology that is inspired by Carl Jung, who was a Swiss psychologist. And his main contribution to the field of psychology is about what goes on in the unconscious mind, what goes on underneath the things that we don't see. So there are several books where at least they talk in simple English. But for this particular book, it seems our author, Robert A. Johnson, did not do a stellar job of making it accessible for the regular person. Hence, most of us expressed a challenge with the book itself. So all of us do not need to be Jungian analysts or psychologists in order to unpack the messages from the book. How we will address the book is we will tell the story, and even as we tell the story, there will be things that pop up for you. There'll be aha, or you might feel angry, or something might just come up for you. That is what the story communicates to you. And as you can see here, it says, a myth is a preview of what to come, and it contains sage advice for coping with the psychological elements of time. And this particular myth of a Parsifal search for the Holy Grail gives us a prescription for our modern day. So this is in fact, oh yes, welcome Gilbert. Sorry guys, I'll be just going in back and forth as we go ahead and let people in and just making them feel welcome. Yes. So, okay, make it full screen. Okay. There we go. Okay. So yes, myths exist in every person. You will get the true living form of myth if you can see it as it spins away inside yourself. And the most rewarding mythological experience you can have is how it lives in your own psychological structure, just to make things simple. Stories talk about us. We've been telling stories since time immemorial about the story and the hare, about this hare taking things quickly and this tortoise going slowly, but at the end, the tortoise still wins. Now we can notice that we normally don't think that the tortoise will win, but story shows us a way how we can win in life. So whatever story is being told, we can take out the lessons from it. So it's not looking at life in terms of is it good or is it bad, which our world tends to look at the lens from. But especially you'll notice in this story that everything that happens to us helps us along the journey of discovering ourselves. So what is your story? So the interesting thing is the story of the Grail is about manhood. I know this book might be, not might be, I find it very relevant in our time now. And the author says so. So all of you could share your insight if you found the book giving you any insights onto what's going on nowadays. Is it true or not true? And it starts off with the Fisher King wound. And it gives us very different scenarios. And before we get into the scenarios of the Fisher King wound, this story is very important for the women. It's not only for men only, because the reality is women live amongst men. You have a husband, a boyfriend, a brother, a nephew, a son, or someone in your care. And hopefully this book might give a little bit of insight to the journey they might be taking or what they might be going through, and how your role as a woman or the images of women, how they can in fact affect men and impact their lives, inspire them. And also noticing that part of you is masculine. You do have masculine energies. So how can you also address those? So normally in stories where kings are involved, the king is normally known as the head of the country or the head of the realm. And this is an interesting story because in a lot of movies or stories, we rarely get to hear the king being injured. So if a king is injured, normally it's tied to his country or his realm is also equally affected. You'll find that the crops are not performing well, the economy is not performing well. And someone may even argue that may even reflect what's going on in our current lives, like with the family unit. If something is wrong with the father, if the father is not 100% there, the whole unit suffers. We could maybe liken that to a company. If something is wrong with the boss, then the company could suffer. Maybe we could say that could have been the issue with Nakumat or Uchumi. If a country's boss, the president, has their wound where they're not able to function, we could see how the country could be affected by that. And in this case, in the myth, the wound that the king has, the king is constantly in pain, and it's a wound where he cannot die from it, but he's in terrible pain. Now, just sharing from this a little bit, um, what thoughts, ideas does anyone have? This is not going to be a monologue. This is going to be a dialogue. So, anyone, please share anything that comes to mind.
It's Marion.
Yes, Marian.
I read the book. I actually read, but I didn't understand. And when Gabu said it was common sense, I felt like it was too far-fetched.
Mm,
Because, and I was speaking to Gilbert about this yesterday.
yes.
The main point was, okay, this Fisher King wound,
Yes.
is it a wound that men walk around with? is it curable after they go to that holy grail? What happens? It's very strange for me. I still don't get it. Okay, I'm listening to you, and when you know started saying about companies and Nakumat and the country, it's coming a bit to my level, but it's still very far-fetched for me.
Okay, and thank you for that. The reason why it's far-fetched for you is because they're speaking in the language of symbols. And in our day-to-day lives, we are not really taught how to speak in the language of symbols. But if you look at our lives, when we say, for example, for example, I was just watching Black Panther earlier on today. And you remember, I'm assuming all of you have watched Black Panther. If you haven't, there's a scene where when T'Challa the king comes back after trying to capture Claw, the guy he had spoken to, he says, "I will bring Claw home." You know, he went and spoke to T'Challa. He said, have you brought Claw home? Where is he?" And he said, "We weren't able to catch Claw. He slipped through our fingers." If you've watched the movie, we're not saying he slipped through our fingers just means he escaped or weren't able to bring him home. Saying that he slipped through the fingers is a sign, it's a symbol. And those who watched the movie, we know that he escaped. He was assisted to escape. So language is a symbol. Story is a symbol. We know that hares and tortoises cannot really interact the way they do in the story. The hare is a symbol. The tortoise is a symbol. So it's our job to unpack the symbols, what it means to us. And we do not need to be professionals because we are professional audiences. We exist, when we come into this world, we are told stories of our family structure. This is our mom, our dad giving us the names. We're in this religion, we're in this tribe, we're in this country. We go to school, that's another experience we're given. And we're told we're in, this group, this is how this group behave. All these are symbols to guide us to navigate life. So it's our attempt to try and see what these symbols are trying to tell us. So I hope that assists in your understanding this book, Marion, but it is just the beginning of many learning experiences.
Yes, it does.
All right. Yes. Welcome, Yvonne. How are you? Anyone else who has a comment just to share about what I've shared so far, just about the Fisher King wound and how when one is wounded, that unit is not able to flourish, whether it's the family unit, work unit, school unit, community unit, country unit. You can see that evidently. And the wound.
Hi.
Hello, Yvonne.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can I just comment quickly? I need to get to do something,
Sure,
then I'll be right back.
Sure.
While I was reading about the Fisher King wound, I found that I don't think it only applies to men. I think it applies to also women because there's this statement, I think I bookmarked it, says, no worse or fighting in pain is possible for us than to realize our capacity for love or beauty and happiness is limited. I mean, it was not a physical symbol, just to answer Marion, physical mark or wound. It's something, it stands for, when the world breaks your heart the first time, right? That's what I thought. And also just to say, I'll join you guys in a bit. I have to do something else. I'll be back.
Thank you very much for sharing, Yvonne. And also, Marion, one more just thing I could add is this language attempts to describe our inner world because our outside world is very evident. Our five senses, you can see me right now. I'm holding up my fingers. We can interact with our skin, through our ears. We're hearing all these things. And so we know how to interact with our world. When we get cut, we can see how we start to bleed. And we know that, we get something to clean the wound, stop the bleeding, and how to deal with it. But now when it comes to mental and emotional wounds, we really do not know how to interact with that because we can't hold it. We don't know how to hold it. So this is an attempt to give us guidance onto how to navigate that world. So for example, just like the way Yvonne said right now, he
everything, yeah.
yes.
And a lot changed. And because I'm the firstborn, I had to be the one who did everything. And that basically changed about how my life has been since then. So I keep thinking, probably, what if this lady was here? What if she was not? And what are the positive things I have done about my life and my siblings' lives to affect them in a positive way? Yeah. So I thought that that break, basically, the wound, the wound does not just affect males. Yeah.
True.
It may be profound, maybe in our current society, because generally men are supposed to be the leaders. But in a situation like mine, I became the parent, I became the breadwinner, I became everything and have been for quite a while. Yeah.
True.
And I think it also prepared me for parenthood. Yeah.
How so?
So I think it also depends on how that wound affects us, that moment when something, it's something generally profound. That is what I understood.
Yes.
Yeah. That it is something that makes, like, let's say, like a very innocent girl's first heartbreak. Yeah.
Yes.
Or even a boy's. Maybe it changes how they perceive society. And now that I have talked about maybe romantic relationships, most of the times, most of them are probably broken or made by the first love, because that is a wound. Yeah.
True.
So yeah, I was looking at it that way. Those things that actually make us make decisions to the end of our lives.
Thank you very much for sharing that, Frida. And in
Yes.
fact, yeah, what you're sharing is even what they're sharing here, that the Fisher King wound is normally something that you experience for the first time that is too big for you to handle. And even in the stories, when they share how the Fisher King comes to be, it comes when we are very young, just when we hit adolescence. And yeah, that's the time when you realize the world is not just about joy and happiness, the time when you witness the disintegration of your childlike beauty, faith, and optimism. Just as Frida shared, it can be a specific event, an injustice, being accused of something we did not do. So for the rest in the group, if we remove the fact that this is about being male or female, what would you say would be a Fisher wound? Or maybe if it's not yours, has this opened your eyes to see maybe someone changed and you witnessed their Fisher wound? Samia, Nochoto, Njeru, Adema?
Hi.
Hello, welcome, Maeve.
Yes, thank you. I think, is there someone else?
No, that's sorry, that's just Frida. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So my understanding of the Fisher wound.
Yes.
For some reason, I am thinking about, say, so it says, stumbling upon something of the Christ-like nature within ourselves. So my mind is like drawn towards, like, say, the first time a person realizes, like, stumbles upon attraction to, like, other human beings that is not platonic, and how that would make you feel. And so, because it's like, adolescence, and you've started too soon, and probably some things happen, and then yeah, there's a wound as a result of that. So that's the thing that came to mind when I was reading about the Fisher wound.
Okay, thank you for sharing, Maeve. Yeah, and I think that's part of the sentiments, is experiencing something that's too big for us to handle, and we have no idea what we have just encountered. Like the first time you're attracted to this female, or for women who are attracted to that boy for the first time, you You don't know what's happening. All you just know is your eyes are opening wider, your heart is beating, your stomach is feeling a particular way. You're drawn towards this person and you don't know what's going on. And after you encounter that experience, because you have no idea how to navigate it, it might leave you hurt in some type of way. But thank you for sharing that, Mav. Lochoto, Gilbert, Samia, any thoughts you'd like to share? Are you there?
Yeah, for now I'm just listening. I'm gaining insight based on what other people are talking about. As I said, this book was very difficult for me. So
So the question is, have you in your life when you were younger encountered something that was too big for you to handle and it changed your thinking from being childlike, innocent, how you're innocent, you explorer, to now you realize how life really is and you changed how you viewed, or you might have witnessed that in someone else?
I don't know. No example comes to mind
Mhm.
from experience or other people's, but I think maybe perhaps like the first time maybe you speak, if you're in a school that did assemblies and all, maybe the first time you're chosen to speak in an assembly and you stumble over words and people start laughing, that could also result in maybe stage fright in the future. Because from
Yes.
what I understood, from what I gained from the Fisher wound, I'm not sure if it's right or wrong, was that you experience something in your child life or in childhood that results in a certain expression of another personality trait in your adult life. For example, people, maybe men who are insecure, or men who, or even women who are insecure, just any human basically who is showing a negative. Because I thought that, okay, in my opinion, I thought that the Fisher wound would exhibit a negative, would come, would, what is it? Not exhibit, but would, yeah, exhibit itself in a negative way based on, there's something that was in the book about how a woman will wonder why maybe her partner is not able to express his feelings, or so I thought it's just something that happens to you that results in an expression of a negative emotion, and this negative emotion, it portrays itself in a big aspect of your life. So it's something that has to affect you, that affects how you think, how you do certain things. And until you come to terms with whatever it is that has resulted in that, you will never truly live. That's why they said that the king was dying but could not die. Something like that. I don't remember so I think it's just, it's what I've said basically. I don't know if
Wow.
that's the correct interpretation, or
No,
if
you see, like
that is,
you see, you've nailed it, even though you said you're not understanding the book.
oh,
Part of
really?
part
Okay.
of you gets, like I said, we understand these symbols. And you see, even just as we try and articulate these things, it's like the pieces will just start to click in, you know? So, like
Yeah.
I said, this is not about right and wrong. You'll find that your experience has given you insight to where you can say, oh, okay, I understand this thing, or I don't understand this thing. So thank you for sharing, Samia. Yes, Gilbert, Lochoto. Okay, the audio is connected, but I'm not hearing your voice yet.
Hey, about now?
Good, yes, I can hear you now.
That's better.
Yes.
I got a bit of, I managed to read a fraction of the book.
Yes.
And I could, sorry to go to for those who are Christians, I could see there were those two young men who were drawn Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. That's the biblical reference part of it.
Mm.
And there were those guys who were they were seen walking on the fire. From the look of it, the fire was like supposed to be consuming them, or they were supposed to be burning.
Yes.
But in real sense, when we look at it, the guys were just okay. They came out of it without the burn of it, and they came out strong. From the human understanding is that from their way, by the time they were in the flame, they were supposed to be consumed.
Yes.
So when you read at the book part of it, the first part is that the king is seen to be, from the first part, from the few chapters that I believe, is that the king is dying.
Mm.
But in real sense, the grave is occupied by no one. We are supposed to be burying the king because of his death, but we are not seeing the dead body of the king. So in other words, we are not able to put, nobody is able to conclude on where the death of the king. So I could relate it to the daily living,
Yes.
whereby I remember one of the times, let me just take a minute from mine to put this, to drive this home. I remember at one point when I was still young in the university, and I was walking on the road in Chumi Ngong Aipa, along Gong Road.
Yes.
So, and then by that time I had it was my first experience of heartbreak, and I had not known anything about heartbreak by that time. So somebody just calls me and tells me, "Hey, Lochoto, you are the girlfriend you had left in Turkana. She has been impregnated by one of the Sudanese." And the only thing I could do at that point is I was looking forward to throw myself to the moving vehicle. But in Gombe by that time, it is not as smooth as it is. The traffic was crazy. So I could not die at that time. But at that point, I felt like this is all I yearned for. So I thought this was all that I depended on. But what did the challenge or whatever the experience I had later on taught me is that I needed to complete my studies and make sure that I position myself very well materially, because I realized it was important at that time. So the challenge I went through made me, if it were not for that, made me complete my studies for other opportunities that were there in life.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Lochoto. Yeah.
Right now, I realize it is through the whatever I went through at that point. You can hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. Although you're going in and out, but I can hear you now.
How about now? You can hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. It was just a challenge that you at one point you thought like this is over, but the energy you get, it makes you to move to the next level better. So I could relate that to the book. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. So as we can see that we are all familiar with the Fisher King wound in one form or another. And one of the things shared was the Fisher King, it is a developmental stage from stage 1 to stage 2. And if you look at the 3 stages of evolution of a human being, the first is the unconscious perfection of childhood. The second is the conscious imperfection of middle life. And the third is the conscious perfection of old age. So, so that way we can start to see, okay, a lot of people normally use the phrase, that's when you're introduced to how the real world works, wake up. So I've asked the question, as a woman, have you witnessed one man with the Fisher King wound? How does it look like? Someone who's confused, someone who's angry. But let's go next. Something known as the inner fool comes up. And the story happens where every night there's a solemn ceremony in the Grail Castle. The Fisher King is lying on his litter, enduring his suffering, while a procession of profound beauty takes place. A fair maiden brings in the lance which pierced the side of Christ at the crucifixion. Another maiden brings the platen held the bread of the Last Supper. Another maiden brings the grail itself, which glows with light from its own depth. Each person is given wine from the grail and realizes their deepest wish even before they voice that wish. Each person, that is, except for the wounded Fisher King, who may not drink from the grail. This surely is the worst deprivation of all, to be barred from the essence of beauty and holiness when just those qualities are right in front of you is the cruelest of all suffering. All are served except the Grail King. All are conscious that their very center is deprived because their king cannot partake of the grail. How have you experienced this in your life, or have you witnessed it in those around you? I think this is a very interesting question, and I think even as I read that, we've mentioned it, like how, for example, someone breaks your heart. And even though your heart is broken, you can see others in love around you, but you're mad. You're like, why are they in love? While my heart has been broken. It's very challenging. And what is a very interesting thing that I find is the introduction of the fool. Now, I don't know if you've watched these movies when we see, those old English movies where there's the king in the court, and then you find that there's the jester that comes to entertain the king. Normally, this jester or fool comes to make fun of the king. But the thing that makes me interested, that I find very interesting, is the court fool prophesied a long time ago that the Fisher King would be healed when a wholly innocent fool arrived in the court and asked a specific question. It's a shock to us that a fool should have to answer to a most painful wound, but this solution is well known to tradition. Many legends put the cure in the hands of a fool or someone most unlikely to carry healing power. What I find interesting about that is, in a lot of religious books, who do we see who God chooses? It's not the strongest, the one who most likely looks like they're the one that's going to deliver the day, the handsome, the strong, the muscular, whatever. It's the person most unlikely to be able to do this task. So when you hear this, what comes to mind? What was your reaction when you read about the fool? We've all seen that person at school or at Jobo. This person is not going to last. They're a fool. They're going to get hurt in relationship, but they're opening their heart for like that. What are your thoughts? Frida, Marion, Lochoto, Mev, Jeru? What are your thoughts about the fool? The introduction of the fool, and that it's the cure to our wounds, the Fisher wound.
My thoughts on the fool was, I think there's somewhere they said the fool was an equivalent of him at 16, or that was implied. And there's a place they said he needed to go back to that point when he was young and naive to get the cure. So my thoughts are, sometimes we just need to look at people who are less experienced than us, and sometimes they hold the answers to what we are looking for. And if that's the case, the lesson is we should allow ourselves to be taught by even those younger than us. Let our heads not be too big that we cannot hear from someone younger or less experienced than us. Those are my thoughts.
Oh yeah, and thank you for sharing that, because you find that even that's the attitude shared in the story. Uh, you know, when the knights laugh at him when they first enters the castle because of the way he's dressed in that car, in his mom's vest that was made for him, and he says, "I want to be a knight." Even you just look at, okay, if you want to be a knight, see, afadhali you come into the king's court with some armor, that you're coming with a casweta knitted by your mom. Hi. So I can see why the fool looks stupid to regular people. And even that's why I watch my nephews and I watch kids, you know, just saying that they're so bubbly about energy. They fall down, they'll cry for a second and get back up and continue. So I can see how this is very powerful, even for those who are religious from the Christian persuasion, where Jesus says it's the kingdom, the kids who, unless you behave like a kid, you're not going to see the kingdom of heaven. I'm starting to understand what now that means, you know. But yes, thank you for sharing, Maya.
Maybe,
Frida?
maybe Andrew, I could add about the Fuller.
Yes.
I am of the persuasion that it's even not very much about the people. For me, maybe it is situations, and maybe first of all, for the wounded king, they have to admit that they have been wounded. Yeah. So the full stance for me would be accepting the situation as it is and trying to be simple with life. Yeah. So some of us will not accept that talking to somebody about an issue actually makes things better. Yeah. Because it looks so easy. Yeah. Like sharing, if you're going through a hard time, just talking with someone, and which is something men don't do. Yeah. This one basically touches on men very much. Yeah. Because women are able to express themselves. When they're angry, they talk it out, or things like those. Yeah. I would wish that with men, when they get into a very hard situation, probably sometimes even looking for a psychologist. You know, these are people who just listen. Yeah. They don't give you any solutions. They listen and then maybe point you to maybe habits that you're getting into, or they are going to put your attention to it. Yeah. So maybe for me, I feel the full situation is trying to simplify things for myself, or maybe the person who is going through a hard time. Yeah. Trying to simplify them, make them as basic as is possible. Yeah. So that's why I was talking about something like talking to people. When you're going through a hard time, just talking to your very good friends, because those are people who are very simple and they are going to point it out. Yeah. Rather than getting into very complicated situations. Say you're going through maybe a financial situation. If you tell other people, people who are not close to you, people who do not know your simple life, they will never understand. Yeah. But your very close friends, maybe family, would understand what is happening with you. Yeah. So for me, it's even not very much about the people as it is looking inside. Yeah. And trying to break it down to the simplest of situations, how easy you can make it for yourself. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And you see,
Yes.
even in your response, I think that's what the book addresses. Because of the wound, you're not able to look at life simply. Hence, it takes a fool to help you look at life simply. Because think about it. If you're a king, look at who you're surrounding yourself with. You have the knights, you have the business runnings of the whole kingdom to deal with. Everyone's come to tell you, King, we need this. King, this needs to be sorted. When do you get time for life to be simple? Only a kid or a fool looks at life simply. They're asking you, you know, why are you doing this way? Why are you going to work in a car? So we can go walking. You can see why the fool, when they ask the question, guys automatically start laughing. So you'll find, I'm not surprised why our fellow adults at the same level, it is very difficult for you to get that aha and you change your life, because you're still using information from the same level of how we are doing things. And hence, I think that's the theme we will constantly be shown how a fool is able to succeed in our lives, or rather in life. So even in fact, you've said it here. You see even in this sentence where it says, yeah, it suggests that if a man be cured, he must find something in himself about the same age, about the same mentality as he was in when he was first wounded. It also tells us why the fisher king cannot heal himself, and why when he goes fishing, his pain is eased and not cured. For man to be truly healed, he must allow something entirely different from himself to enter his consciousness and change him. Normally, everything around us is the same consciousness as us. That's why we can't yet be like, but you don't know, you can't understand where I'm coming from, you know? He cannot be healed if he remains in the old Fisher King mentality. That is why the young fool part must enter his life if he's to be cured. And remember, even what caused the old Fisher King wound is the situation and circumstances, how people normally live their lives. You know? They're like, this is how life is done. So because that's
I
what
have a question.
Sure.
Going to fish, what is that symbolic of? Going fishing?
For me, I think going fishing are those things that help ease your pain in your wound. So it can be that hobby, it can be drinking, it can be hanging out with friends, going to the cabal, listening to music, smoking a joint, going into nature, watching movies. You know, there are those things that help you relax, that help you forget about it, but they don't help you heal. They do ease your pain, but they don't help you heal. Does that make sense, Mario?
Okay.
Okay. And
yeah.
Yes. Any response, Njeru, Meva, Lochoto, before we move on?
Well, my understanding of the inner fool came in 3 phases. The first phase was whereby I felt like he had beginner's luck working in his favor. Like for instance, when he defeated the Red Knight, like this guy has been training his whole life to, to like be who he is, and then this other guy comes from nowhere and he didn't even aim, like it just happened. And so I felt like it's beginner's luck. And then the second way I understood it was me having this problem sorry, and the only person who can help me solve it is the person who irritates me the most, like that person I cannot stand at all. So it's just like one of those ironies of life that we have to live with. And then my third understanding was actually thinking about myself as being the fool, because in so many aspects I feel like I am not qualified to be this or be that other thing. But that might just be the romantic in me looking for hope in the unlikeliest places.
Wow, that's deep and powerful. That's very interesting. And yeah, there is an interesting thing about beginner's luck, and I think we'll touch a little bit more on it when we go to Parzival, which is now, I guess, the naive, innocent fool navigating the world and finding out, as we navigate the world, how do all these things we talk about that we are so intimately, we intimately know about these things. The person that has no idea about life and they're entering this arena for the first time, and you find that they're winning or things are happening, and you're like, how? Okay, beginner's luck. He's just lucky. So thank you for sharing that. Lochoto and Njeru, do you want to share anything about the fool before we move on to Parzival? Lochoto, Njeru? All right, because not responding, let's move on. So just as a small summary, Parsifal is the boy with no name, and his name means innocent fool. His name also has a deeper meaning. He draws the opposites together, and which foretells his healing role in this whole story. So his name comes much later in the story, and he's raised by his mother, Hatsoro. He has no siblings. His father is dead, and he knows nothing about him. Now, don't you notice this template when you look at superhero movies? Most of them don't have parents. In fact, the only one who I know who has a parent is Black Panther. But his story starts after his dad dies. So there's a tendency of heroes not having father figures. And maybe that is a symbol for what we're experiencing right now when women talk about, these men are not, those men like the old school men. It's because it's symbolically we weren't shown how to be those men that we desire to be. It's like our fathers were not there. So Parsifal grows up in a primitive peasant way. He wears homespun clothes. He has no schooling, asks no questions, and is completely untutored. So one day he's out playing and he meets 5 knights, and this guy just dazzles like, oh my God, And I'm not surprised. You imagine you're not taught anything about the world, and you see that thing that catches your eye, and he wants to join them, and his mom cries. And she can't stop her son from following in her dad's footsteps. And, now she tells her son the truth, that your dad and brothers were knights that died in the line of duty. Didn't want you to go out there, but so is it. And this last sentence is very important, that, she tells him to be fair to damsels, to respect fair damsels and not ask too many questions, and is given a gift of a homemade vest. And then he leaves, he finds a tent, he remembers, and he's wowed by this tent, by the way. He looks inside this tent and is a damsel. Is like, oh my God, this is the finest chick I've ever seen. My eyes have never beheld anything like it. And he wonders how to respond to this, and his mom's words comes clear as day. Hey, respect her. So he respects her, and it says that he actually takes her ring as to remember her, because that's what he uses for guidance, and because she recognizes that he's someone special, tells him to get out because her boyfriend, not the Red Knight, but one of the knights, is going to come back, and she doesn't want him to die. What do you guys make of this experience? First time, maybe you've seen your siblings going through this, or your nephews, or, your brothers. What do you guys make out of this? Marian, Frida, Lochoto, Jeru, Maven?
My take is men are so jealous, and him being a knight, maybe he's just gonna kill him without thinking or listening to the other guy's side of the story. Yeah.
Well, as you've said, you see the damsel was aware of that, so that's why she told him to leave, because she didn't want anything bad to happen to him. Oh, and guys, in a few minutes, the thing is going to disconnect again, and we'll just reconnect. So that's very true. You see, this is someone that knows that, men are jealous. Where utapatikana? You see, you're a special guy, but, you go. Frida, Lochoto, Maeve. As you guys take the time to respond, what I find interesting also is when I remember the first time when I'm smitten by a chick that I find attractive, it's like I feel bad when other guys are talking to her. I don't know why. But it's like I want her attention for me alone. I can't articulate just why. That's just how this body works. It's like
You feel bad and you've not even made a move on her, whatever.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know how it just works out. Once those chemicals just hit you, as in, it's like everyone in the room fades apart. It's like they're non-inconsequential. It's like it's like now she's gone from standard definition to HD, and it's like you're seeing her eyes glow. You're just like, whatever she's talking about, you're just like, hey, she might just be talking about her day. I just like got my nails done. You're like, hey, you got your nails done. Wow, that's so beautiful. So yeah, when that thing happens when you're smitten, it's like you want to experience this beauty that has arrested your attention, so to say. So yes, that has been one man's articulation of what happens to the best of my ability. I don't know if other guys can respond. What happened when they saw that female that opened their eyes and heart and their world changed?
Obama.
Yes, Obama. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, loud and clear.
Okay, you've given us a very interesting story.
Mm.
But I think Parsifal's story is quite a very interesting story because his innocence, his ignorance, they say ignorance is bliss.
Continue talking to us about how ignorance is bliss. The first time when you laid your eyes on that beautiful girl and you have no idea what happened.
Okay, mine is not in that line, but I think seeing the journey of Parsifal is quite interesting. Though he appears to be the ignorant one and the fool, but in the end, after he goes even to the king, and they laugh at him because of how he's dressed, but he's able to make the maiden who had not laughed for 6 years to actually laugh. And he actually achieved what many others could not achieve. And even in our lives, I think most of the times the solutions to our problems or how we look at people, I think it is good not to judge the book by the cover and just allow people, even their ignorance or their not appearing to not know where they are headed to, but eventually you find maybe they were onto something. Because you see, maybe even Noah in the Bible, when he was building the ark, they all laughed at him because he appeared to, there was no rain was in sight anywhere. They were saying, no way, how can it rain until that nobody could really believe it. But in the end, his bliss and his foolishness eventually saved him and his family. So I think it is always good to encourage people, even if we don't understand their dreams from the onset, we just give them time, because most of the geniuses in this world who invented things, when they were inventing those things, people thought they were mad. People thought, I was reading a story, a guy who was making the engine of the vehicle and all that.
Yes.
People telling him, there's no way that this thing will be ever faster than a horse. So stop wasting your time. But eventually, time proved to be on his side, and he was rewarded greatly. Yeah. So my takeaway is just that we should allow people to just get on with their lives, make those mistakes. Just like a child, they can come to an electrical appliance and they will just want to touch it, not knowing the implications. But with time, they get to learn, and eventually they discover so much and they become better. Yeah. So that's my take.
True. Wow, thank you for sharing that. And yes, our first time, what I also appreciate about the story is the wisdom of the chick knowing that, hey, okay, hata kama huyu haelewi, he should not be punished for his ignorance. Where can you get out of here so that you're not harmed? So I appreciate that about that in the story. So
So
Even-
maybe, Andrew,
Yes.
can I cut you short, kidogo,
Sure,
just
sure.
before you finish that?
Sure.
Maybe we owe a duty to everybody we meet, knowing who we are, because some of us know we are toxic, okay? Some of us know we are bad for others. But you know, there's people who will just let you get into a bad situation. They know they are bad for you and they just never tell you, yeah? So maybe we owe it to each other, yeah? When we discover we are not to the, because you can tell, yeah? I'm not to the standard of this person. And I'm not talking about maybe financial or material things, yeah? But maybe what they are in spirit. For instance, you will meet someone who is just ready to play and you are ready for something serious, yeah? And then when you meet them and get into that mix, you find yourself in a very, very bad place and you do not know how to get out of it, yeah? Or you get out of it so hard, such that now that becomes your, that king's, the kingfisher's moment, yeah? You get
Yes.
that wound, yeah?
Mhm.
Maybe we should learn that we owe it to others to be either good or let them go without necessarily injuring them.
True. And you mentioned a very important thing, which I think is part of what is one of the lessons this story is trying to tell us, that those who know themselves are able to give that service to others. But those who don't know themselves will not give that service to you. So, who are you? Do you know yourself? That even in your limited capacity, you can still get to appreciate someone and just give them whatever is due for them. Don't hurt them. Just let them be on their journey. This guy is trying to look for a night. Okay, fine. You just go that way, you know. But like you said, if someone is still wallowing in their wound, like you said, we can give it whatever word, toxic, blah, blah, blah. They will indeed be toxic to others. So that's a very powerful point, Frida. Thank you for sharing. So now we come to one of the very interesting parts of the Red Knight. So in summary, as he asks, where are these, how can I become a knight? He's led to the Arthur's castle. And when he asks people, he's dressed up in in that vest that his mom gave him. And so now people are laughing at him. Why you wanna be a knight? You can't. You know, don't even bother. But because of his insistent asking, he's actually taken to Arthur himself. Now, Arthur tells him, you'll have to be brave and you're going to have to do a lot of things in order for you to become a knight. Now, an interesting thing happens. There's a legend or a tradition that in that court, there's a very fine damsel. She's never laughed. And they said that when the presence of a knight who's majestic, strong, and awesome comes, she's going to laugh. And she hadn't laughed in, I think, 7 years. And she actually laughed. So when she did, the king took notice. And when she laughed, I'm starting to see a pattern here where it seems females are very intuitive about the stuff of life. So even in the beginning, when Frida, you mentioned that men don't like to talk about their feelings and emotion, what I'm thinking is that is language for women are more familiar with the inside world where we can't see. And it's easy for you to identify where a man is or a boy is when they step up to the plate to do what it is they want to do. So hence, you can see her laughing validates the position of Percival to the world. The king is aware, oh, this is the guy. Because by looking at his dress, you would not be able to acknowledge that this is the guy. And an interesting thing is now, He says that he wants to fight, he wants the horse and armor of the Red Knight. Everyone starts laughing because the Red Knight does whatever he damn pleases and no one can stand up to him. It's like me saying that I want to enter boxing now and fight against Mike Tyson. That cannot happen. It's like me saying, I want to be president of Kenya and I'm going up head to head with Uhuru. There's no way, even in my dreams, that I can win, in that scenario. But you find out the interesting thing is as they fight, he's beaten to the ground. And out of nowhere, this guy throws a dagger in the Red Knight's eye, and that's what kills him. So like Mev had shared earlier, beginner's luck, by fluke. This guy killed him by instinct. Not that he was an expert in, technical expertise of fighting. This guy has no idea how to fight. Just beginner's luck. So an interesting thing about this is, everyone is shocked. But what we find is the Red Knight and what happened to Percival in terms of fighting with the Red Knight, this symbolizes, if you look at the outside world of a man, this is represented by competition in all forms of fashion. At the workplace, at school, I'd like just to take a few seconds break to welcome Nancy Njoroge. Nancy, welcome. How are you? And yes, you've just reached the point where we're just doing a discussion, just summarizing the book. And we've reached the point where Percival has just defeated the Red Knight. And I don't know if you got a chance to read the book. Nancy, just go ahead and mute yourself. And just let us know, were you able to read the book? Are you there, Nancy? Can you hear us? All right. If in case you're still trying to sort yourself out, yes, we had reached the point in the book where Percival, by beginner's luck, managed to kill the Red Knight. And what we're sharing, what we've been shown is outwardly, boys and men have to overcome a great obstacle. And there's so many obstacles in life. Whether it's in sports, you have your opponent. At Jobo, you have having to make the sales or to do your work, against the competition, that other company. So, and unfortunately in this world, or fortunately, that's just how it's designed, for one to win, the other person has to lose. Now, inwardly, what this represents is he must overcome a rude energy inside of himself, a bully or a cheat within. Now, this is very interesting because just as Frida shared earlier, as men, we really don't talk about our emotions. So we have to overcome that thing that holds us back inside from expressing ourselves. What are those thoughts that are bullying us? What's that clever cheat that's cheating us? You're amounting to nothing. You can't do this. You're a guy. You shouldn't talk. Kifa kufa kimwanaume, such thoughts that prevent us from articulating ourselves. And this specific situation of him killing the Red Knight shows the transition of boy to man. And also there's a warning with this, a small caveat, that if this fight with the Red Knight goes badly, if it goes badly for Percival or for the boy, whoever's fighting that man, the boy can emerge as a bully, a vandal, or an angry man. But he can also be beaten and a defeated, shy man. So I'd like us just to ask that question. When you look at the men in your life, or even yourselves, because as we shared, this is, we may be talking about boys and men, but it also applies to women. Where do you feel in your life that you've taken command of the outside stuff and you've also taken command of the inside stuff? And also, have you failed in your fight with the Red Knight where you are a bully, you're angry, or do you feel beaten and defeated, that you don't want to rise up to the occasion in life? You're just like, Ikai, I'll just ignore this stuff. What are your thoughts? Frida?
Andrew?
Andrew.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Okay. Who wants to go? Marian?
Marian, go first, please.
Okay, Sawa. Andrew, honestly, I am not impressed at all. I don't like the way men just shut up. I have to be honest. I don't like it. Why can't you talk about it? You go out, it's hurting you, that Fisher King. For me, my interpretation, it's a man's thing, because the book was male psychology. I don't like it at all. But now that I've read it, I'm slowly, painfully, I think they are my Fisher King wound, painfully and slowly accepting. And there's a place that it said, after the hideous, she was a maiden, the hideous maiden, when the
Yes.
hideous, when that hideous maiden strikes, the best thing, well, the writer said, the best thing you can do as a chick or a female being is let him stew in his trouble and take it and like give him space, be aware. But which is contrary to everything I know, believe, and do. But now that it's in my conscience, I'm willing to do it. But nishingo upande. The other thing that was lesson 1. Lesson 2 was, towards the end, the writer says that female beings have a higher emotional knowledge, understanding than the men. And maybe that's why the male person is processing this pole. And even when they go to the grail, they don't identify the thing until when that random chick comes and tells them it's just around the block. So yeah, men might be stronger physically, but this other side, we are shining. Girls, we are shining. Yeah, those are my 2 lessons.
So thank you, Marian. Thank you, Marian, for sharing that. And even as you've shared that, for those maybe who might not be familiar with the hideous woman, would you mind just giving us a small summary of the hideous woman and what was described of her in the book?
Oh my God. You're like choosing the worst person. Okay. Let me. I have the book in front of me.
It's okay. You can read. Yeah, you can read just the key points. Like, what did she do, and why is she relevant to the story?
Okay, it's opening. Obama, you've just read the books. You just talk. As I look for that hideous woman.
I was not able to complete it, unfortunately.
Okay, Sawa. I've gotten it. The hideous damsel. Kai, I don't know how to pronounce this name. Parsifal. Parsifal had conquered so many kings. Oh, wait. Can you guys hear?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you hear my reader?
No, we can't hear.
No, we can't.
No, we can't.
You can't hear my reader?
No.
Okay, Sawa. Okay. Let me just, so it's, I don't remember the page, but I have it in front of me.
Okay.
It says, so Parsifal has conquered so many knights and sent them to Arthur's court, where Arthur was the king. Arthur's court, where he has grown famous in the Arthurian world. And then it goes down and says, at the very height of the 3-day festivities, a most hideous damsel appears and puts an instant damper on all the celebration. She is a decrepit old mule that limped on all 4 feet. The damsel's black hair was dressed in 2 braids. That doesn't matter. Her lips are like an ass and bull. Okay. Her mission,
Okay,
here we are.
exactly.
Her mission is to present the other side of the coin at the festival, a task she accomplishes with genius. She recites all Parsifal's sins and stupidities, the worst being his failure to ask the healing question in the Grail Castle. Parsifal is humbled and left silent before the court that only a moment before had been praising him to the sky. With the certainty of sunset, the hideous damsel will walk into a man's life just when he has reached the apex of his accomplishment. There is some strange correlation between the achievement of a man and the power of the hideous damsel in his life. The greater the height, the greater his capacity for suffering and humiliation seems. The amount of fame and adulation one gets in the outer world seems to determine the sense of failure and meaningless he will find in the hands of the hideous damsel. I hope that gives you an idea. Then it says, the hideous damsel is a carrier of doubt and
Sorry, you disappeared. You disappeared after you said the damsel is a carrier of doubt. Are you still there, Mariam? Your audio has disappeared, Mariam.
So you guys have not heard anything I've said?
Okay, now we've
heard.
No, we've heard, but your audio disappeared when you said she's a carrier of doubt, and then you just trailed off. So just repeat that, please.
Yes.
Okay. No, it's keeping. Okay, cool. The hideous damsel is a carrier of doubt and despair, the destroying, spoiling quality that visits any intelligent man at midlife. The savior of all the server of life has gone, unanswerable questions torment him. What is the use of going to the office? What difference does it make? What good is it? Yeah, there is the hideous damsel.
Wow. The one that mulikas the failings of the man, you know? So
And the woman.
And the woman too, yes.
Yes. Yes. I'm saying this because I'm generally a man.
So Frida, you're identifying fully with this story.
Marion.
Male energy.
Marion, yeah? I said, and the woman, because these are not, what basically this talks about is, for me, would be when we look at life and feel that we have been defeated. Basically, life is moving. I have not gotten to the milestones I had planned to get to at a certain time, yeah? So now, and I said, I'm going to put females into that picture too, because now we have become like men too. We do everything as men would do, yeah? So like, I am the head of my family. I am the man in my home, yeah? So basically, yeah, there are things, there are challenges that one gets to, and you feel like, what is even there? What is the use of this? And the unfortunate bit about this, whether we like it or not, sometimes when life becomes very hard, it beats us down to a point where we ask, what was the use of it? What is the purpose? Yeah. So I'm thinking that is what the ugly damsel is basically doing to this man. Yeah. And unlike women, now the bit that differentiates us between men and between us and men is the fact that women are able to basically tackle issues very fast. When you meet that damsel, the ugly damsel, it's mostly a thing in the heart. It's a thing of the heart, yeah? About how you feel about yourself. And women are better able to cope with it than men. And I think that is why we have higher levels of suicide when it comes to both genders. Among men, men kill themselves much more than women. They are prone to committing crimes much more than women do, because they are never able to look into themselves, like question themselves. And even when we are questioning ourselves, sometimes we must accept things as they are. For instance, when you meet someone you really, really like, yeah? You like them so much, but they do not like you. What do? Yeah? We have choices, but mostly men become bitter, but women are able to move on very easily. Like, that is it. He did not want me. He rejected me. I am dealing with this heartache now. It's happening now. Yeah. And I'm going to deal with it. But you'll hear a man who is trying to recover from a woman years later. Yes.
Yeah, because they don't go through it. They just want to drink, go for fishing, which is drinking, football, work, workaholism.
Yes.
And then 2 years later, they still haven't dealt with it. Then it crops up and they start saying, oh, this woman is not submissive.
And sometimes they even hurt the women in their lives at that
love
point.
her, that's it. Sorry?
Yes. They carry it forward. They carry the heart, that wound, yeah, because he did not deal with his issue. And now when he's having his ugly damsel moments, so many things crop up. Some will leave their families. Unasikia mwanaume iko 50 years sasa ndio ana divorce bibi yake. You know, so many crazy things.
And I'd like to thank.
Oh my God,
Mariam.
Frida, you're right. There's a place that it was saying, if under the mother complex, there's a place for wife, there's a place for mother, there's a place for, I think, sister or something. So what they were saying, if the man confuses, especially his wife for his mother, because his wife is also a mother to their children, and he starts expecting his wife to also mother him, it just goes downhill. That's not your mother, that's your wife.
And I want to thank you, Marion, for bringing this point up, because as you've mentioned, this part was totally alien to you, but then now you can see how the behavior of the hideous woman, why men keep quiet. Because it's like, even though I was supposed to speak, who will listen? Because the way men are defined is by their accomplishments. Even look at the language around men. Even look at Percival, how he's viewed. This is the chosen guy. This is the guy who's going to be the awesome knight. Okay, you know? And let me just take a second. I'd like to welcome Wambugu Karaoke. Welcome. How are you? And if you get a chance, look at the bottom left of your screen and turn your audio on. So just to make sure you're hearing us. Welcome. And this book is a behind the scenes, especially for women who are not exposed to the men's world. So I'm glad, Marion, of even how you're articulating yourself, of even admitting you're learning, what your eyes are being opened to, because you didn't realize this. So maybe now you can understand why men keep quiet. Because now, if this was the man being said, hey, Andrew's the man, Frida's the man, Marion is the man because they've steered this country and now it's making 2 billion. And then on the other hand, the hideous woman comes and said, by the way, Kenya is only successful because it is done on the back of slave kids. You know, Kenya is only prosperous because Marion and Frida, yes, it's on the backs of whatever. So now, how can you even speak? The moment you speak, people are saying, you're trying to justify your actions. What's wrong with you? So maybe that might give a little bit of insight why men keep quiet. And it's like there's no one in our corner to help us out. And the impact of how we might think that we can do things with strength. But if a man is injured, has his wound, you can see that it takes someone outside of him to help him out. You can see the women in their lives who've activated these potentials. You know, there's that phrase that says it's the woman, like it's not the woman, but the fact that that chick, I forget her name, the lady with the kingdom who said, Percival, you know, help me with my issue. It was men rise up to the occasion. Now that's when they know that they had strength they were not aware of. So you see, there's a lot of things we're unaware of where people help us activate that. That's why probably we are being told, find a cause bigger than yourself. And that's when you'll be able to, be a better person and what have you. So I've given my comment. Gilbert, what are your reactions to that?
Yeah, I totally agree. The funny thing with society, men should express themselves, but the same people hear them saying, "Aye, why is that man crying? He should behave like a man." So you find sometimes the society has some double standards. They keep they say one thing, but when men talk, it becomes like, hey, you're not man enough. You should man, and like that. Yes.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Welcome, Wambugu. How are you?
Maybe I could challenge that, Andrew.
Yes.
I could challenge that with the idea that generally there are people who are there to help, and this is why I'm bringing up the issue of maybe psychologists, yeah, or counselors, because I know mostly women will go to those lengths when things are very bad, yeah. They will go and see, even if it's a doctor, they will go and see those. But generally, for men, unless he's being dragged there to a rehab, ni lazima adragiwe, basically. Maybe the first thing men need to do is to get to know themselves vizuri. So when you're tripping, you know, now I'm tripping. There's something going on. I'm becoming an alcoholic. I'm becoming abusive. Yeah. I am not, basically, I'm detaching from the world. And once men understand this, then it becomes very easy to do things that are beneficial to you and to the people around you and to heal. Because mostly all these hurts happen because someone is struggling with something. Come on. So my son has switched off the lights. Oh my God. Okay. So what I'm saying is, once people understand this, what is most important is for a man to know himself. Yeah. Because once we know ourselves, we are able to articulate what it is we feel. Yeah. And once that happens, then we are able to seek for help where it's needed. So
agree.
maybe society needs to agree with this. And when we say society, like Gilbert said about society being double-headed, that would be true. But the problem is we have a patriarchal society. So if you see a man crying and you're a man, why are you asking him why he's crying or how he can cry instead of understanding him? Because this is something that started with men. It is not something that women decided. Now we are going to be laughing when there is a man crying or a man going through an issue or something like that. Generally, if you see a boy crying, yeah, maybe the mom will comfort him, but the dad will tell him, shut up, men don't cry, which is very sad.
It's very sad, but now if you look at the story and how it's unraveling, you can see that first and foremost, it's actually mapping out the journey of someone being mature. Because right now, Frida, you're talking like a person who's mature, you know how the world works. You're like, hey, come on, style up. But what the book is allowing us to do is to look behind the scenes, that when this person is injured, why aren't they asking for help? And we're seeing the various people in his life who are coming to help him on his quest, that by the time he gets to the end of his quest, the king gets healed, the king gets the help he needs. So even as Marion is asking her question in the chat box, what if men accepted help, professional, friends, etc.? You can see from the story where men get their help from with how they've been exposed. Because remember the first time Percival entered the court saying he wanted to become a knight. Look at how he was laughed at. That is how our world is. You imagine as a boy, you're trying to express what you want in life and you're being laughed at. So can you see how you can say, okay, then I can't ask for help? Can you see that only by defeating the Red Knight is when now he starts getting street credibility, so to say? but you can really see he really doesn't have friends. And even we haven't mentioned the impact of the godfather, who we can replace with the mentor, the person who shows you what to do. How many men do you know in your lives actively mentor? And you can see this mentor comes in, the mentor reveals for you the secrets of how to get these things done. So even I could technically be a mentor because we are sharing this information. It's not like someone has to be that one-on-one, but it's sharing that information that you need to get to where you are, to where you need to be. I don't know if that is making sense.
It does, Andrew. I get where you're coming from. Basically, you're saying, much as this person is going through this and maybe there is help, the problem is the people who he's surrounded by are the ones who cut him down. So he's not able to actually fully express himself, because for me to be impressed by a man, probably I expect him to be driving a Range Rover or something like that. So society has basically dictated how it is that this man should present himself and how we can lend him that ear. Yeah. He has to have a way of looking, yeah, for us to even consider him, yeah, as a human being. And that makes it even sadder. So
Yes.
maybe the duty we have, because I would say the men in our lives right now are in that mindset. But the way things have been now, I would like to imagine that what we are becoming, we are becoming people who are a bit more enlightened, people who are open to men doing whatever it is they want, yeah, to people doing whatever it is they want. Maybe we are growing, and probably, God willing, our children will be better men because they are able to express themselves. They are able to, we listen to them, because like I'm trying to think. I just remembered a story of when I was young. There was a boy, a neighbor, who had an interest in me. Yeah, I was informed too. So when my daddy discovered what was happening, do you know he beat up my brother and not me for it? Yeah, you can see the responsibilities and how unfair it is.
So with that
because
question,
he said, it is you who is telling your sister.
so you see, with that case, Frida, you can see how maybe someone innocent, totally unaware what's going on, all of a sudden is being written down on. And now that's where the symbol of the red knight comes in. You see, when you mention the patriarchal society, that's symbolic for, that's what the red knight symbolizes. Someone that can do anything, everyone is scared at him. You can see if someone says that, oh, I'm going to become president of Kenya and root out corruption. Look at how people will laugh at me. They'll be like, Kajinga, you'll be eaten up by corruption. We'll wait and see.
Yeah.
So once you start to realize that, you might now start being able to identify elements in this story that you could even assist your own boy realizing the hardships of men through Parsifal's story, that even as he becomes successful, because you can see that Parsifal's voice, mother's voice was guiding him in his things, but there were certain things that helped him in terms of respect, fair damsels, that helped him so much. But where she told him not to ask questions hurt him. So you also ask yourself as women, what has your voice in your men's lives helping those men and hurting those men? And also, we need to summarize this. Oh, it's going to cut off. So let's do one last session to finish up to as we conclude all these thoughts. One powerful thing that we may not realize from this book, or even all books, is you can see this has probably summarized like between 20 to 30 years of living, and has given this to us in 70 pages. So it's giving us wisdom we can try and apply within our context quickly. So that's going to be the challenge of how we can apply this in our lives, in the lives of our males or females, how we can do this. Welcome back, everyone. Yes, let's wait for Frida and Obama to come through, and then we summarize this. And I want to thank all of you guys for staying this far. I don't take it as a, this is a privilege for sharing with me your attention till now. This journey has been very humbling for me. Yes, and as Frida joins us, I just want to say, I just want to thank each and every one of you for staying on until the end. This process has been very humbling for me to try and facilitate just a book discussion where we can unpack everything we've learned from the book with an attempt to impact our lives by learning something about ourselves and those in our lives, how we can unlock more of ourselves. So I want to just thank all of you for being with me on this journey for this second edition of the book club. I want to thank you. So I was just sharing the last sentiments before we finished, before we got cut off, was this book is summarizing over 20 to 30 years of wisdom within these 76 pages that we can apply. So it is our challenge to see what role we can play for the people in our lives. From all the ladies in our lives that you saw in the book that helped Percival on his way, we realize that the women in our lives activate the men. From the women, from the damsel in the castle, laughing and validating Percival as that awesome knight, to the second lady in the castle giving him the task of, please save my castle and my people. And he was able to do that. He was able to be intimate with her without physical contact, to show that men can understand intimacy on their journey. And also this hideous woman that we talked about that revealed the bad things, the misgivings, the people who Percival had on his path to become this awesome knight. These are the things that need to be addressed. His mother's voice that guided him, respecting fair damsels, which helped him pretty much throughout his career, but also do not ask questions, which hurt him and prolonged his journey towards helping himself and others. You can see how women impact, but not just the physical woman, it's the idea. And Marian, you did share about the 6 types of women and how that has been very eye-opening for you. So even as I say that, what's your response? I know that you were all sharing. Frida, you said something. Gilbert, you said something. Mev, I know you haven't gotten an opportunity to share. Oh, I'm sorry, she dropped off. Oh, gosh. But does anyone want to say anything before we give any summaries of what we thought of the book and we conclude? Marian?
No, I wish Gabu came because he's the one who proposed this. So upset with him. Pikie Gabu.
Yes. He should have been here.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, he's the one
agree.
who started this. He's nowhere to be seen. Then to make it worse, he did spoilers.
In fact, let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it.
Oh yeah, you're calling him.
Yes.
Yeah, tell him. Yeah. So men are hard. That's my conclusion. Men are difficult. Men are hard to understand. I understand you guys consciously, like with my brain, but with my heart, I don't. But I'll keep trying. Yeah, because I don't think I think Frida, this just brings to the conscious that they will just not speak about their problem because of that hideous damsel. But really that's the way they see the world and it's not the way we see it. So yeah,
Yes.
give yes. It is what it is. So yeah, and I can give you guys peace, like space for you to deal with your hideous damsel, to deal with the hideous damsel without disturbing you. Now I have better understanding because most times you guys just go quiet and then we are really disturbed because we can't understand why you're quiet, and we start poking and then you get more annoyed, then you get more quiet. So it's just
And it becomes bad and people fall off. They become even enemies.
yeah, then they're like,
Yes.
this chick is so nagging. No, we're not nagging, we're trying. Yeah, so
Yes.
my lesson is this Fisher King wound is I will now acknowledge it more. And
You've muted yourself, Marion?
yeah, I'm back. Am I
One
oh
second.
shoot.
Hello.
Can you
Gabu.
hear me?
Andre is talking. Maybe Marion.
Yeah?
Especially Marian was waiting for you, especially the way you look at the book and said it was so easy and we've been sharing so much about manhood, and she says she wants to hear your insights. In fact, you can come and join now for the conclusion just to share, so that Marian says she's understood men a little bit better, but she just wants to hear your insight. Okay. Yes, he's joining us. He says, let him try and join right now. So can you see the power? Can you see the power of sharing your thoughts? Nothing happens until you share your voice, Mariam. And
that is true.
So can you see?
If all men can hear me, other men in my life, speak about your problems.
So
And then I noticed something else. When men are dealing with their brothers, sons, they're very rough around them. And the same men, when they're dealing with their daughters, their sisters, they're kind of
Very
softer.
gentle.
Yeah. So I think it's something we chicks can never change. We just need to learn, adapt, and live with it. But I've seen, like, a friend of mine has a small nephew. He's already hurling insults at him, and he's like 6 months old. I'm like, yo, why are you insulting your nephew? It's like, he's a nigga. He's going to grow up. He needs to grow up fast. But I'm sure he's more gentle on his niece, who's slightly bigger. So I think it's something ingrained in them. I don't know if there's a way out.
Maybe no, there is. I think there is. And it may not happen with our parents, but it can happen with us. That we handle our children the same way. And generally, not through discouraging them. Because once you show someone they can do shit, they become that shit. Yeah. As in, you empower them positively, as opposed to, kila wakati. Boys have much more energy than girls growing up. So maybe that is why they keep being handled very, very roughly, yeah? But maybe we can mute it, as now the parents of the boys who are growing up to be people's husbands, boyfriends, daddies, whatnot, because change can happen in a generation or through generations, pole pole. Because I wouldn't say I handle my son the way my mother used to handle my brother, yeah? So I hope when his time comes, he will handle his child in a much better, yani we become a better improved human race, as opposed to, because Aish, there is a way, I think there are some parents who actually broke their children.
Okay.
And now currently, I feel the men of my generation are mostly broken, and they were not broken by their peers. but were first broken by their parents, because at that time, our parents wanted us to be doctors, whatnot. So if you are not doing so well, anakuonyesha, you do not matter. And I've seen families where they are all sons, but the son who is rich and whatnot is the one they honor. These others are not seen like people. So they become drunks, whatnot. And this is why we have people who even sometimes think they are the unwanted child. They are the black sheep in the family. And it happens mostly with boys, which is very sad. Then they go on to meet other people, and mostly their victims are women. Now it becomes worse. Then they get children. We have to stop these situations at some point.
Frida has brought out a very powerful insight that a lot of women are unaware of. So even you think about it, you remember what we've mentioned from the story. What guided Percival was what his mother told him. And maybe something that we're not articulating also. There are things that we are directly told, but there are things that we are indirectly told through our actions, how our mother behaves towards us and towards those in our lives. And so that's code for us. That's how we relate to the world. And you remember what we mentioned in the beginning about if your fight with the Red Knight goes badly, you can either become what? A person that's shy, reserved, not expressing themselves. So think about it. Doesn't that reflect to you someone who's been twangwed by the environment? The Red Knight is anything that's dominant in the society, bigger and stronger. Women may be bigger and stronger, not in muscles, but in your voice and how society treats you compared to how it treats us. Just like you've said right now. Society treats and cares for you. Oh, what do women need? Oh, yeah, they need to be treated this. In fact, let's do funding for women. Where do you see funding for men or for boys? You can even, you see, you even said it yourself, the patriarchal system. That's another Red Knight. Red Knight signals what? The only way you can interact with him is not through conversation. It's through a fight. So Marion, that's our life in a simple shell. It's a fight. We don't know what to talk to because that might even be a fight. So when you're already telling us, why aren't you talking? That's a fight. Notice the women that activate the boy to go to the next level. The women that see the magic in you. If you can see the potential in your boy, the potential in your man, that they're going to be this awesome person, just observe and see what you love ignited in that person. I guarantee you. Give that man a job to do, like say, oh my God, I need this to be done. Can you help me? Like that lady with the castle, what she did. And watch how these men will embrace you. You're going to see intimacy on a whole nother level you've never identified. If we could try to apply some of the principles from this story and see how they practically apply in this real life and not in these mythological times. That is the only...
Andrew, I have a question.
Sure.
Andrew, in a nutshell, when you say, you just said embrace them the way, kind of the way they are, like you need to see they have a future. What is embrace them as they are? The book already says, if he's in that mood, give him space. Does a man interpret that as embracing? Or we do it our way, where we literally just, we are all over your space.
Yes, so think about it. When you see someone that's physically injured, what do? You go and assist them. Yes, you go and assist them. You apply wound on their pain. That's not a time to tell them, why did you get injured? You're strong, you're intelligent, you should know better, you should be better. Come on. Already the wound is significant of he's a loser. And I'd just like to welcome the great and awesome Gibson Gisore, aka Gabu. Welcome, Gabu.
Hey, thank you, Andrew. How are you, Bana?
I am well, thank you.
I can
This,
see we have. Yes, sorry. Please continue.
yes, this has been an interesting session. Marion
Uh-huh.
was sharing about her disappointment that you are not here
Yeah.
earlier, especially since you had set the tone and the chat about the
Yes.
book. So she was
Yeah.
anticipating you being here to hear your
Yeah.
voice,
Yes.
especially the way you had expressed that this book was common sense for you.
Yes.
And this book
Yes.
has really been an eye opener for her in
Yeah.
terms of what men need, why are men quiet. We have learned
Yeah.
so much here from what Marion has shared. And I
Yeah.
don't know what you'd like to share just from what you got from the book. And we can obviously, all of us agree that book, the language was hard beginning. It wasn't really
Yes.
inspiring. But once you
Yes.
overcame that block, it came a little
Yes.
bit easier. But yes, please go
Yeah.
ahead, Gabu.
Okay. So for me, kwanza, good evening, viewers.
Good
Good
evening.
evening, Gabu.
And feel free to share your
So
video so that guys can see you, please.
I cannot do that because it's because I am naked. I am half naked.
Okay,
Na ni
yes.
huko chini pia
Yes.
ni
Your
juu.
head.
Yes.
Sasa,
Yes.
if you want my picture, I can just share my picture.
Yes.
Sasa Andrew, wewe ndio unataka tu kuniona hapa naked and the other. My
Okay, yes.
goodness.
We would not want to cause any mishaps that would scar people for life and maybe give them their first taste of Fisher wounds.
Yes. Anyway, the book is really nice, and I think I will give it 3 stars instead of my typical 4, because a lot of it was covered in the last R.A. Johnson book, that is Balancing Heaven and Earth. However, I recommend this. I mean, it's a good book because, as I said, it doesn't speak to me at all. I agree with him, and that legends and myths, as well as great works of literature, correspond to human condition. After all, that is what makes them resonate with generations of readers. However, I don't see the useful. I don't see how this book is useful to me, because I find it as a grand statement and a prescriptive account of the life journey of every man. Because the author, I think, in his interpretation of the Pacific myth, he lacks the notion of concentration and to give concrete examples from actual human experience. Anyway, I don't know what other people say. Maybe you guys can tell me, and then I don't know what you guys discussed.
Yes, what we did is we discussed just a summary of the book, and
Hello, are you guys there?
And as we went,
Hello.
Yes, we are.
yeah, guys are there.
We are.
Yeah, just disappointed with you.
Hello.
I'm not letting it go.
Yes,
What's the problem?
as you've
I didn't
mentioned,
hear.
as you've mentioned, yes, he was being prescriptive, but he was just attempting to give meaning
Yes.
behind some of the symbols which might not be common sense to a lot of people. And
Yeah.
what I attempted in this discussion was just to ask people, what did they get from different parts of the stories? And we found that
Exactly.
as
Because
different
sorry
people were sharing, you could see
yeah.
that they were getting the story and the symbols.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
why we were needing, you and others to join, because each and every single person here
Yes.
reacts differently to the story. Like today, I've learned so much from Marion, just her sharing her reactions to the book.
Yes. You see, the problem for me is the author's.
Gabu, you've muted yourself. Gabu, you've muted yourself. Gabu?
Hello.
Yes, now we can hear
Yes.
Sorry. Someone called.
you.
I was saying the problem for me is the author's way to say, here is the story, and this part means this, and that part means that, but without providing context or giving much reason why. For example, you cannot say this is why a man has 2 testicles without saying the reason why he has 2 testicles is because God decided to give him 2 and not 1 because of balance. Anyway.
Okay.
Throughout
As we acknowledge the failings of the author, what
Yes.
learnings did you get from the book that you could share?
Yeah, some ideas actually in the book do ring true, and they are quite appealing, if perhaps familiar, such that in the process of converting ego into self-happiness, it is a state of mind, and you see, you should picture the state of mind as a destination, and when you have destination 1A here and destination 2 here, it means you can be able to reach your goals quite faster because you have already seen where you're going. Also, in the book, I liked that there are aspects of femininity that a man must face and reconcile to succeed in his life's journey. Because male psychology believe right now, like in the present male psychology belief, it doesn't believe that you should follow some certain patterns that are here, neither there. I don't doubt the author has many profound perspectives that are useful. But I go back. What I said is I feel is exhaustion, as though I've been treading water in a sea of symbols and numbers and mysticism. That I hope to be led or stand. I mean, I hope to be led to stand on firmer ground with a deep understanding of principles that are concrete. But in my understanding, they were not. Maybe
Gabu,
maybe
my
with another
idea.
reason. Yes.
Gabu, I thought.
Yes.
What I took away from this book, and I didn't read it much, but what I saw, the theme, basically what this guy is tackling mostly is patriarchal society, how it is and how it has built men to be how they are now. And for me, it was a challenge about what my role is in my brother's lives, my son's life, my maybe colleagues and friends, how I can like hold them up, maybe even silently, because the way the story goes is that we are supposed to let men be, yes, but you can actually, I thought that you can steer a person to a certain direction or maybe a way of thinking. For instance, like the discussion Marion had in the book club today about women, single mothers, how a woman is perceived. Basically, there was someone who was like trying to argue that a single mother should look for a guy who is divorced or a man who is widowed or something like that. See, if society looks at this is the eyes of society, basically decide how it is that we are going to treat each other. And at some point, my argument is that much as the buck did not stop with someone else, maybe we are the people who can make this change about how we view people. Yes. If the man in my life is suffering, what is my role in that suffering? Am I helping or am I beating him down? Yeah. Yes, those are the lessons I'm getting from it. Like it may not be so out there that this is what women do, but I can see where I can step in my role, what it is. I may silently guide, or
but
talk in a certain way that opens the man's mind.
Yes.
I'd like to interrupt for one moment, just as you share your feedback. I'd just like to appreciate Chumba, who has joined us. Welcome, Chumba.
Okay.
Thank you. Hey,
Hi, Chumba.
Yes.
Hi, niaje Gabu?
Hiyo ni jini tunanusia kutoka kwa Zoom.
Huku nakula tu manyanya manyanya na
Manze,
matiti.
ulikuwa chill manze, si unge brush before you join meeting.
Aiwe, nilisha brush.
Sawa.
So yes, Chumba, as you've joined us, we're just summarizing our experiences with the book. Don't feel bad because Gabu has also just joined us and he was just sharing his sentiments because Marion expressively said that how can Gabu be so vocal on the WhatsApp group about the book and not show up for the discussion? And that's why that's where we are right now. And we've learned so much from Marion's insight as a woman, not realizing the men's world and just her insights, how she views it, her questions. Gilbert has also shared some of his experiences. Frida has also shared a lot. I've also shared a lot. And one thing comes obvious for me, Frida was just seeing how, men should just go ahead and talk and open up. Gabu says that, hey, people should be knowing these things. But if we look at it, it seems that both of them are talking from a point of they've already experienced this thing, so they know what's going on. The book attempts to give like a template or a guide for people who have no idea. You imagine you're Percival, the boy that knows nothing, and you're going through life. And you're facing people like the Red Knight, people like Gabu that know about life. And if you try, you're a fool. I come dressed to fight in a sweater and I don't have a weapon. And Gabu is there, the full armor and a sword. He looks at me shaking his head like, what is this guy? You just laugh. You can't beat me. And you can see that is the path of the fool. And even as the fool recognizes what he has to do to bring healing to the Fisher King, they're realizing that all of us have Fisher King wounds, which this language might not be obvious, but you see, it helps us understand, just like Marian was sharing and Frida was sharing, it has given voice to some of men's behavior that they've not understood as women. But also Frida can understand being sort of like a authority figure in her space. So I don't know, Chumba, if you could share just any learnings you got from the book, from your experiences, just as we are trying to wrap up and just go back and forth.
Chumba did not read the book.
Okay.
So I've actually come to listen. So
Okay, that's fine. So if I'm to summarize the book, feel free to jump in, Marion, Frida, Gabu, places where I've missed out. It starts by saying the Fisher King wound, and this is a wound given to the king. It's a very vital wound, normally given in the thigh. It's very painful and he cannot die. So the pain is unbearable. And we've seen in native societies, if your king is weak, the whole kingdom suffers. And I think this is an interesting metaphor for if something is wrong with the dad at home, the whole home suffers. If something is wrong with the boss at work, the whole farm suffers. If something is, if your president has a wound where he cannot fully be himself and come forth, the country suffers because the wealth of the country, of the home, of the farm is tied to the boss. So that's the setup for the Fisher King wound. And the Fisher King wound normally comes in adolescence. The first time they meet, something bigger than themselves they cannot handle. Like, the first time you see that chick and she makes you, oh my God, she's the most beautiful thing I've seen in this world. But you have no idea to navigate a relationship and you break up. Heartbreaking. Or, the first time you taste anything that's big. And what that part is shown as, that's the evolution of life, which is in 3 stages. The first stage is when you're unconscious as a kid, that life is juicy and nice and everything. Second stage is when you're consciously aware of the imperfection of the world, where you have to deal with all of life's bills and everything, that life is not just a bed of roses, it's painful. And the third stage is old age, when you're consciously aware that, you know what, all these things are connected. And that's how life is. So that Fisher King wound changes you from that innocent kid to, hey, maisha ni ngumu. So now this story is about Percival, a young boy who is totally doesn't know anything about life. His dad is not there, his brother is not there, his mom has hidden to him the reality of what happened. Then one day he sees these 5 knights and he's so excited. Oh my God, who are these guys? So he tells his mom, Mom, I want you to follow these knights. She's sad because she doesn't want him to go, but she tells him the truth. Your dad and brothers died because they were also knights. You can go, but I'll give you 2 things. Always be fair to girls, treat them with respect, and don't ask questions. And she gave him a homemade vest to go with. So he goes and he meets this chick in a tent. The lady realizes that this one is going to become an awesome knight, and she tells him, Ebu, go quickly. My boyfriend, the knight, is going to come and kill you, so you go. And that was the first time for Percival to see a beautiful woman. So he was like, hey, okay. So he goes around asking, how can I be a knight? So he goes to King Arthur's castle. People laugh at him. He says, I want you to fight the biggest and baddest guy, who's the Red Knight. He fights with the Red Knight. He's beaten kabisa. But when he's on the ground, he throws a knife in the Red Knight's eye, and the Red Knight dies. Now he claims the Red Knight's armor. And from that point on, he goes fighting people and he subdues knights, but he doesn't kill them. He tells them, go and serve King Arthur. He goes and all sends them back. And then at one point, he meets a lady called the Hideous Woman, who comes and mulikas Percival, says, you know, this guy is not all that he's cracked up to be. This is his mushene. These are the things he's done wrong. And mulikas. And after mulikas, he loses his way. And then eventually he meets his godfather, the mentor that tells him how to to go to the Grail Castle to ask a question that he needs to ask. And as he goes ahead and does that, the king becomes healed. And now we all learn about life. I know that's a brief summary. I may have missed some portions. Does anyone feel I've missed a portion that Chumba needs to know? Marion, Frida, Gabu, Obama?
None on my side.
Okay. Gabu?
No, you have summarized it very well.
Okay. Gilbert?
Well summarized.
Okay. Frida? Okay, Nika, Frida, and
Yes, I liked the summary. It was quite good.
Okay, would you mind sharing your thoughts about the book, about manhood, about men's roles, women's roles, the themes you saw in the book to Chumba, so she can learn, and we can all go around as we summarize. Go ahead, Frida.
Maybe I could start. For me, it's just learning about how to be around, what my role is as a mother, a sister, a friend to the men around me. Yeah, because apparently society is not very kind on men, which is very unfortunate. Like I told you about that story about my father beating my brother because a man was talking to me. We were just teenagers. That is, thinking about it, it's very strange and actually very sad. And I think I sort of understand now where he comes from because he's very standoffish and he has limits. He does not talk much, yeah, and he struggled with depression for a long time, yeah, and probably it's just the way we were brought up because our parents were really harsh on the boys as opposed to the girls, and so my role for the boys, maybe for the males in my life, is first of all not to be the ugly damsel because he has his issues about this ugly woman who comes. I mean, there are those bad issues in life that are already beating him down. The last thing I need to do is be part of it. Yeah. So if the people in my life, the men in my life are having a hard time, Yeah, I should not judge them based on how society, what society states it should be. So yeah, right now maybe he doesn't have a job or something like that. How can I help to get him that job, to get him to that level where he needs to be, for him to at least feel like the knight? I mean, for him to meet society's standards. Yeah, but at the same time, yeah, I feel it is also our responsibility to treat each other differently, so that when someone is facing a life issue, they do not totally crash and are basically killed by their situation. And I feel for men, because unlike women, men are not never able to express themselves when it comes to especially social issues, yeah, and things of the heart. And it's basically, it's quite heartbreaking, because when I imagine maybe my brother is going through so much, my other brother is going through more, you know, it's really heartbreaking. And when I think that maybe this has been contributed by how we have handled them all along, it's very sad. And I wouldn't like for this to be the story of my son. I would like my son to learn how to speak, yeah, for himself. Because now when you also have a voice, when you get a voice, you're able to articulate your problems, you get into a better place. Does not matter how, you put all the effort there is to it. But unlike women who are able to talk, men are not able to. So maybe I'll keep hoping that the men around me learn to talk to me, yeah, better, and I hope I become a better listener, yeah, because there is, yeah, the way we were brought up also, men generally do not complain. But I think they should, I hope they get to a level where they feel comfortable enough to be around women who build them as opposed to the ones who break them.
Thank you for sharing, Frida. And I'd just like to point out one part of the story to Chumba. One thing that helped Percival in the story was the advice his mother gave him of be respectful to fair damsels. But also the reality is, one thing that held him back was do not ask questions, because the key to healing the king was getting to the Grail Castle and asking, who does the Grail serve? He did not ask it the first time he went there, but after years, again, when he went back, he asked it the second time and the king was healed. So we need to acknowledge the information we've been getting as men from our women environment and also our male environment that are holding us back. So and also this Percival, he was an idiot, he was a fool. He was the naive boy, and it seems it's the naive boy that heals the people who are hardened by life. We know how life works. So that's just a caveat I want to add with what Frida was sharing. Yes, Vanessa Polly, welcome back. Please share with us what you got from the book, because we are summarizing now. Hello, Vanessa.
Hello, hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Sorry, oh, sorry. I almost killed my cat. Sorry about that. I was in quite a noisy location. I am still trying to catch on with the book since I just joined the group. So I'm here to just gain more insight, and perhaps moving forward, I can be of more use. I can contribute more.
Okay, but all right. We have just like less than a minute to go. So if we get disconnected, let's reconnect since we're just doing the conclusion. But we just wanted to get, what did you get from the book reading it so far?
Hello, Andrew.
Yes, Gabu.
Sorry, maybe I was on a call. I don't know if you guys had already called my name.
No,
but
no.
I just wanted to...
Yeah, we haven't called your names. We're just summarizing. Polly just joined us, and I just wanted to see just a little she had gotten from the book as we are summarizing all. But the session is about to end, so let's just reconnect so that we can just all do our conclusions and finish up.
True.
Polly?
Can you let me just follow?
The hideous woman is an ugly woman, and the book even doesn't do justice it does a very good job when it's trying to describe her being ugly, comes and washes Parzival with filth, him having been a successful knight who has conquered a lot. And this is very symbolic part of men only being acknowledged by their achievements. And the weird thing is, if we go through the whole story, that's how men's lives are defined. We find that the very first time Parzival meets the first woman that he loves, she recognizes this is an awesome night and says, hey, get out of here, my boyfriend is going to come. She acknowledges that. The second woman was the damsel in Arthur's court who laughed, because the tradition was she hasn't laughed. If the man that comes and she laughs, that guy is going to be an awesome night. So that woman validated his destiny. So we can see how women affect men's lives, and men may be unaware or aware, and also women may be aware or unaware. The third woman influential in his life is the lady that sends him on a mission. You know, please, can you protect my castle? And he does so by defeating the army. And even he says, by the way, he defeats the armies by he defeated the second in command, and then he sent him to go serve King Arthur. He also defeated the first in command and sent him to also go serve King Arthur. And then you find out this hideous woman comes on the scene. So it shows you that from a man's perspective, from a boy's perspective, all the women that affect the boy's life. And as older men, we might, looking back at our lives, we may be aware of these instances. And one of the ladies, Marion, who was with us, was sharing, until reading this book, she was very unaware of the hideous woman and her powers, because she'd be like, why are you men quiet? It was only after I explained, you imagine you're in a world where you're nothing until you have to fight against the Red Knight. The boy's name was nothing until he defeated the Red Knight. Our world is steeped in competition. It's either win or lose. And if we lose against the Red Knight, you find out we can either come out angry, angry men, or shy, dejected men not opening up. So why are we surprised when men are not opening up? It's because we've been defeated. We've not been able to rise up to the occasion. And Frida has also acknowledged this, you know, as a woman, you know, being around a man and also being an authority figure in her arena. That, okay, you know, men are different around boys, you know, they treat them mean, slap and beat them around, while these men, when they have daughters, they treat them so nicely, you know, with glove hands, with kindness and what have you. So this has articulated like a behind the scenes of what goes on in men's lives that, you know, those who've read the book can appreciate. And that has also been my takeaway. Just the stages that we are taken through to heal. Because there's so many fissure wounds. It can be drinking, sex, partying, being a workaholic, not facing our thing that we need to face, but realizing we need to look at it like a kid's eyes, like an idiot, in order to heal. And sometimes we need people outside of us. And that's the reason for reading this book. And one last thing I can say about this book is it's a privilege to read a book like this. Why? It has summarized over 20 to 30, 40 years of a life experience. You know, the king who's been injured to how Percival has grown up and found himself. So some sort of template or recipe that I can be aware for myself and for others, you know. And I should not forget to mention the role of the godfather that realizes how the world works and tells Percival where to go. And notice the godfather is one compared to all the other men in Percival's lives in the story who are fighting against him and not telling him what to do. So I might disagree a little bit with the Gabu and say that sometimes the author leaves things vaguely on purpose for you to put your own interpretation on it. And that's what everyone has done here who has shared what they've gotten. So that's what I've gotten, and I cannot assume what I have gotten, the rest have gotten. So I appreciate all of you who are here and who have shared. And so now I'd like to just give the floor to Gabu to share. And since Frida has shared, Vanessa, you can share any last words, and maybe now we can also mention some book recommendations since you guys are actively here, and we'll put them in the group. Gabu?
Thank you, Andrew. You know, I'm joining from somewhere where it's quite remote, and I don't know if guys can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear
quite
you.
clearly.
Yes.
Well, yes. To be honest, the book didn't really speak to me. However, maybe it is because I had read his earlier books and I had already shared what I think about my sentiments. But however, let me speak about the topic healthy masculinity, because that is what the author is trying to say. Because you have probably had expressions like, "Oh, man up, I'm a real men don't cry." You guys, I think you have heard about those kind of things. So then, if the society is expecting men or women to behave this way, how then do men learn the rules? Because starting from childhood, boys and men are often called out for behavior that doesn't match society's definition of manhood. Sometimes it might be in the form of, maybe this guy is sissy, you know. So sometimes that is why you find men, restricting emotions to acceptable ones for men. For example, anger, happiness, jealous. This, even when you have a male lover, he cannot be able to show his full range of emotions while you guys are being intimate. You understand? So this toxic masculinity, not healthy masculinity, can lead to men not taking care of themselves and not recognizing that others need help, and in some cases actually hurting other people. But when we practice what the author is saying, healthy masculinity, it allows men to take care of themselves and recognize when others need help. We care for others and we contribute to a more respectful culture for all genders. Because there are so many ways you can encourage men to be their true selves instead of being confined to stupid stereotypes called toxic masculinity. They should learn how to address disrespect, allow men to express a wide range of emotions, encourage us men to demonstrate nurturing, compassion, and caring behavior towards ourselves. You know. So in my conclusion is, the book is really nice. It didn't speak to me, but I've learned quite a lot, because there are many different ways to be a man. Acknowledging that you have toxic masculinity helps you understand your healthy masculinity. Because by acknowledging this provides an opportunity for everyone, not even the man, all genders, to be respected for who they are, and in turn give respect to others. I think that is what I got from the book.
All right, thank you for sharing. And I think, Frida, do you have any last thing to share, since I guess you're about to wrap up? Frida?
No, Gabu, I think Gabu has wrapped it up for me very well. Gabu has wrapped it up for me very well. Basically, when a man takes care of himself, he's able to take care of everybody else. And the circle continues. It becomes a healthy circle, as opposed to when someone is broken, they break others. People who hurt others. And I think maybe what we need to encourage people around us, because we can't say we will change a generation or society, is just like encouraging the people who are around us to be a bit more compassionate with themselves, not even with others. When a man fails, he needs to know that there are many other chances, that it is not the end of the road for him, and that there is no blueprint of how someone is supposed to live. You live life. as it comes. If you experience a hard moment, it's just a hard moment. It will pass at some point. Yeah. We are not stuck in those bad places. Yeah. And especially for men, because I think the way society is, it does not give men chances to be compassionate with themselves. So they beat themselves up very much. And maybe this is the thing I would encourage my friends, my child, yeah, or children, or the ones around me, to be a bit more compassionate even with men, and especially boys, because right now we already have men and they are the way they are because of how people were to them before. So maybe even us as women, we can try to be a bit more gentle, not too expecting, not setting standards so high, setting standards that even the man didn't have before. You see? So, like Gabu said, a healthy man is a healthy society.
Thank you for sharing that. In fact, then the main thing that sticks out to me from that is affirming men. It's very easy to be very negative because and it's very easy for men to keep quiet. And even let's remove men out of the picture. If you don't affirm a human being, they'll tend to keep quiet. And sometimes in our society, we might not be very affirming, like, good job. Maybe thank you, Gabu, for coming. Thank you, Frida, for showing up. Thank you, Vanessa, for coming, for showing up. That's affirming. You see, people might take small things for granted. It's like, yeah, you're supposed to be here. No, it's a privilege and an honor for you guys to show up here. So, those are things like affirming, thank you for being the person who you are in my life. Thank you for being the person you are in people's lives. So that's the way to affirm, You might not know what to say, but you're like, I'm here for support. And I think the book does help women see how to affirm and also how not to be too much there, for the men to confuse you for being, the mom figure or, depending too much on you also. So that is addressed, and I'm glad at least the book attempts to give language to that. So with that, I'd like to end, since it is 9:04. I want to thank all of you for being here during this experience. And my intention for this experience was for someone to learn something new from a book, not just read a book and say that we finished reading books, but at least they can apply something to make their lives better. And if I've done that, then I know I've achieved something. So I just have one request, that even as we go back to the WhatsApp group, please do share and encourage others, and maybe recommend a book that we could do next month. And yeah, please just do share your insights, give snippets. I'll share the recording later on. But I just want to thank you, Vanessa and Frida, and all the others who participated today. I have been your host, Andrew Balongo Perrin. Any last words before we go? Frida, Vanessa? Maybe Vanessa, you can share with me.
Maybe.
Yes?
Andrew.
Yes, Frida.
I would like to say thank you very much for being a great host. I would like to say thank you very much for being a great host. I did not really read much about the book, but I just skimmed. I skimmed through the whatever's, the main points and all that. But I have learned a lot, and I'll actually go back and read it now. It doesn't sound so boring after all. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for hosting us.
Thank you.
I'll continue.
And Vanessa, maybe
I want to say that I've learned a lot. It's been an eye-opening moment these few minutes I've been here, because it does speak volume in terms of the relationships we have around us with our brothers, our partners, our friends, you know, and yeah, I can't wait to read the book. And I'm really glad that you've been such a great host and a very informative session. Thank you, Frida. I think I found Frida talking to us earlier. It was quite insightful. Thank you so much.
And before we go, maybe could you mind sharing 2 things you got from the discussion, at least so that we can also learn from you?
Well, I can just mention from the top of my head the fact that we have to be very mindful and compassionate with the people around us, particularly the men who have, according to tradition, they've been told to stay hard. Real men don't cry. I think I got that, and it really was insightful. And having lost a friend 2 months ago who was very cheerful and all, and having to read his final note to his family, it showed a very disturbed person, someone who was totally different in person when you'd hang out or when you'd have family reunion. So it was quite a shocker. And I guess that's the reason why this whole conversation was it went a bit close to home. And I really appreciate it. Like I said, I can't wait to read the book.
Well, thank you very much for showing up, Pauline. And
indeed, it's a pleasure.
And yes, I think then finally, I think I've done my job by everyone having to learn something new and, you know, implementing that in their lives. So guys, have a good evening and thank you.
Thank you too. I really appreciate it. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you, Frida.
Thank you, Frida. Bye.
Bye.